The IAAF suspends Russia over doping allegations as Kenya's government approves fast-tracking the establishment of an anti-doping agency. Hello and a very warm welcome to Matchpoint here on CCTV Africa, the weekly program whose focus is all things African sports. I'm Mahia Mutua. Here's what's also coming up over the next half hour. Team representatives are in Kigali for Sunday's 2016 African Nations Championship draw. And the equestrian legend changing lives through horse riding in the Soweto townships. Well, let's begin with athletics, where the Council of the International Association of Athletics Federations provisionally suspended the All-Russia Athletic Federation as an IAAF member with immediate effect. The decision was taken at Friday's 201st IAAF Council meeting, which was held by teleconference and chaired from London by IAAF President Sebastian Coe. A total of 24 members of Council took part in the meeting, with 22-1 voting in favor of the sanction against Russia, who have been officially informed of the Council's decision.
Following a 3-hour teleconference held on Friday, hosted by IAAF President Sebastian Coe, the organization voted 22-1 in favor of the sanction. The Russian representative was not able to vote. The meeting and vote were called to discuss Monday's report by the Independent Commission of the World Anti-Doping Agency, which recommended the punishment, which is unprecedented for doping offenses.
This is an acknowledgement that we need to make change. And yes, we need to look at ourselves here. And what is also very clear, that in discussing the failings in the Russian Federation and the failings within my own organisation, the architecture around anti-doping has failed the athletes worldwide.
As it stands, it is still unclear when Russia will be allowed back into the fold.
It is entirely up to the Russian Federation and Russia to enact those changes. Our verification team will be tough, and we will want to make sure that before there is a reintroduction to the sport for their athletes and for the federation, that those changes have taken place.
The move means that Russia will be stripped of hosting the World Race Walking and World Junior Championships next year, while the first competition to be affected by the ban is the European Cross-Country Championships in France on December 13th. The main athletics events in 2016 are the World Indoor Championships, the European Athletics Championships and the Olympics.
This is not about politics. This is about the protection of clean athletes, but the message that the Council has sent tonight could not be stronger. And I cannot overstate the feeling around the conference call this evening about sending the strongest possible message that we can.
Meanwhile, the General Secretary of Russia's Athletics Federation and its council member at the IAAF said that the length of his country's ban from international athletics competitions had not yet been determined.
We have to wait for the results of the Commission. We probably even need to work with them. And then there will be a decision made by the Council for what period this suspension is. The period is unfortunately not prescribed and therefore will depend on how convincing we are with our case and how objective the Commission is.
Russia are one of the superpowers of the sport and finished second behind the United States in the track and field medal count at the 2012 Olympics in London. Wazir Khamsin, CCTV.
Well, indeed, as we've heard there, Russian athletes have been provisionally banned from international competitions, which would include the World Athletics Series and next year's Olympic Games set for the 5th of August. Now, the decision will also bar the nation from taking part in the 2016 World Race Walking Cup in Cheboksary, Russia, as well as the 2016 World Junior Championships to be held in Kazan. Now, before the decision was taken, both the World Anti-Doping Agency and the International Olympic Committee promised action over the alleged doping offenses in Russian athletics.
For 2016, our recommendation is that the Russian Federation be suspended. In fact, one of our hopes is that they will volunteer that so they can undertake the remedial work in time to make sure that Russian athletes can compete under a new a new framework, if you like. If they don't, then it has to play itself out, and the outcome may be that there are no Russian track and field athletes in Rio.
There is the clear commitment, the IOC is about zero tolerance policy in doping, and we have there a proven track record, and we will apply this zero tolerance policy. You will see medals being withdrawn. You will see athletes being sanctioned by the IAAF. You will see athletes and officials being excluded. And you will see an action led by the IOC to make anti-doping testing independent from sports organizations.
Right now, here to give us further insight into this story is sports and entertainment lawyer Sarah Ochoada, who joins us here in our studios. Sarah, let's begin by asking what exactly could be the implications of WADA's report on doping, which was released on Monday?
Well, thank you for having me. WADA has given recommendations that the Russian Federation should be suspended from any international sport. So that implies that Russia will not be able to compete even with its neighbors as far as regional sport or even friendlies, and that could mean Russia will be left out of very important qualifiers or any other sports that would have to be competed in let's say, the Olympic Games.
And now, Sarah, talking about the wider cost of this report, if it is officially adopted by the IAAF, the IOC, and other federations, what is this likely to have in terms of the athletes involved in federations and the sport as a whole?
As far as the federations and the athletes are concerned, the federation officials will have to drop their official positions if they're in any international federations as well as the IOC. And for the athletes, they will have no opportunity to compete in any competitions whatsoever, meaning they will not have the opportunity to come forth and compete with others who they have probably trained for a number of years to do so. They would also miss out on opportunities in getting competitions, awards or medals, which comes with funds at times, as well as lacking the opportunity to just showcase what Russia can do. So these are a few of the implications involved for federations and athletes. And for the sports in general, once you're out of competition for a few years, it's very difficult to come back in, especially with the stigma that you had anti-doping over your head. Not many people would be willing to have Russia as a host for international competitions either.
Now, Sarah, we do know that doping is costly in terms of the careers of athletes, but what is this likely to have? What is the impact that it will have in relation to athletes' careers in future now?
Once you are caught with a doping violation, several sanctions can be given. One of them will have to be that you withdraw the medals from these athletes and you cancel any of the competition awards. You will also have instances where the athletes will be asked to return any monetary awards as well. And as far as the federation is concerned, they will have to pull all the athletes' funding in terms of sports and training, which will hamper any of their progress towards any other international competitions.
Right now, finally, Sarah, bringing this closer to home, Kenya too has opted to take a strong stance against the vice. Kenya's cabinet on Friday, of course, ratified the establishment of a doping association with immediate effect. What impact is this likely to have in terms of the sport here in Kenya?
As far as Kenya is concerned, we've taken a very long time to come up with our own national anti-doping agency. And this move by the cabinet is actually a knee-jerk reaction to what we should have done at least 2 years ago, because we signed the declaration, the Johannesburg Declaration, to be WADA compliant by 2015. But Kenya has been seen to be dragging its feet, especially with the establishment of the Anti-Doping Association of Kenya. So what has happened is that we now have an association which has no teeth. And in fact, the association itself is probably going to have to rework its organization because there's a judicial review ongoing in court to see if it's actually been put together according to the laws. What we're missing right now is a very important anti-doping legislation which will give the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya the mandate to operate, and not only operate but to function with competency.
All right, Sarah, thank you very much for speaking to us there. That is sports and entertainment lawyer Sarah Ochoada joining us here in our studios, talking about the recent doping allegations and what impact it has had on the Russian Athletics Federation. Well, it's time now for us to take a quick break here on Matchpoint. Still to come. Team representatives are in Kigali for Sunday's 2016 African Nations Championship draw. Turning to football now, Rwanda is in advanced preparations ahead of Sunday's final draw for the 2016 African Nations Championship. FIFA interim president Issa Hayatou was to attend the event but had to undergo a kidney transplant. The 2016 CHAN Local Organizing Committee chairman Vincent Nzamwita, who is also the president of the Rwanda Football Federation, said that they are expecting football officials from around the globe. The CAF delegation headed to Rwanda will include Secretary General Hisham El Amrani, the President of CHAN Organizing Committee Al-Mami Kabele Kamara, and Vice President Amadou Diakite. The tournament is planned for locally based league players and will be held in Rwanda from January the 16th to February the 7th next year. Well, now joining us now for more on this live now is from Kigali, Rwanda, is CCTV's Celestine Karane. Celeste, what is the mood ahead of tomorrow's draw there?
Well, Mahia, as you can imagine, CHAN is not really drawing a lot of attention this week here in Rwanda. Of course, a lot of focus here was on the World Cup qualifiers where Rwanda played away and lost to Libya, and they will be hosting Libya here for the second leg on Tuesday. Regardless of the fact that a lot of football talk here has been about the World Cup qualifiers, the host nation for CHAN 2016 are really upbeat, saying they will put up a very good party for the draw on Sunday. Remember, Rwanda will be seeded first in that competition by virtue of being host, and the other top seeds of the competition include the Democratic Republic of Congo, Mahia, who were the inaugural champions back in 2009. Then you have Tunisia as well, who are seeded first by virtue of being champions in 2011. And then Zimbabwe are also seeded first as one of the most consistent teams in this competition. So the hosts are saying, look, they will roll out the red carpet for everyone who is coming to Kigali for that CHAN draw, and they will treat it just as importantly as anybody would treat any other competition in Africa for our draw, Mahia.
Now, of course, Rwanda may be excited for the tournament, but it does take place in exactly 2 months' time tomorrow, Celestine. Just how prepared is the host nation for next year's tournament?
Well, remember before Rwanda got this the rights to host the 2016 CHAN, they had hosted two age group competitions for CAF under 17 and under 20, and so it is really the same stadium being used to host this particular competition. You have two stadia in Kigali, and one of them will be home, of course, to Group A, which has a Rwanda, and then you have a stadium in Huye, which I am told is already ready. Now, the stadium, which looks like needs a bit of work, there will be 4 venues. The fourth venue, which is in Gisenyi, they say that they're still finishing up the final touches on its facelift. Now, this week they had given themselves the deadline to finish installing floodlights and the scoreboard, and as well as a fence around the pitch that will be used by teams to train. So really, the country says in terms of accommodation, they have enough hotels here in the city or any other venue that they will be using outside the city. There will be 2 venues outside Kigali, of course. And they're also saying that in terms of logistics, everything is in place. So Mahia, the country says they're raring to go.
Okay, Celestine, finally, we did touch on the defending champions, Libya. They will not be in Rwanda to defend their title next year. Who are the likely contenders this time around?
Well, Mahia, this competition really is one that is up in the air, if I may say. It is a competition that anyone could actually win. In the first 3 editions, we have had 3 different champions. And so even Libya winning in 2014, everybody was really a bit surprised about it. So it really is anybody's competition. But people are looking at teams in Africa which have a bit of strong domestic leagues, including the Democratic Republic of Congo. You're looking at Tunisia as well, and Morocco. These countries, of course, expected to do well. You're looking at Ghana, which has been very consistent and has finished, twice in 2009 and 2014. So they will also be looking to maybe graduate that second place to a gold medal this time around. But I mean, that said and done, any of the 16 teams, Mahia, could actually win that title. Remember, for many of these players, they often play in their domestic leagues. They've never had a chance to really represent their country, even sometimes in the international stage. So it is really for the players is where the excitement will be, and they will be looking to put forward a very good show, Mahia, because sometimes you do have scouts coming in from Europe as well to try and identify a talent or two. There are scouts as well coming from within clubs in Africa, of course, looking to add on to their players list. So Mahia, it is anybody's competition, and for the players it will be all about putting your best foot forward and showing that you actually are as good as any other player in any other league in the world, Mahia.
All right, Celestine, thank you very much for that. Indeed, all eyes will be on Kigali, Rwanda tomorrow for the 2016 Chan tournament draw. That was CCTV's Celestine Karane joining us from the Rwandese capital. Well, now moving from Chan to World Cup qualification. Algeria came back from 2 goals down to hold Tanzania to a 2-all draw in their World Cup qualifier earlier this evening. The Taifa Stars dominated for 60 minutes but were undone by Algeria's counter-attacking play. Dan Ashby with this report.
From the outset, Tanzania looked like they were going to put 3 or 4 past Algeria here in Dar es Salaam, but their old problems came back to haunt them. They squandered chance after chance, either putting it wide or hitting the crossbar. Finally, they got what they deserved and scored a goal just at the end of the first half. And then in the second half, their star player, Mbwana Samata, scored a brilliant goal. But then Algeria's professionalism and experience shone through. In about 15 minutes, they scored on the counter twice. The final score, 2-2.
Yeah, of course I'm frustrated with the missing of the goals. But it's happened in football, because football is a game of mistakes. Sometimes you can lose chances, you can get 2 chances, you can utilize, and you can create a lot of chances and missing. So it's happened in football. It's very disappointed with the missing of the goals.
We know the quality of this team. I watched some game. For us, it's a very good result, because I think they can score many times.
Tanzania have a real uphill struggle now. They really need to win in Algeria to stand a chance of getting through to the next stage of World Cup qualification. Algerians, though, will be counting themselves lucky tonight and will be optimistic about their chances. Dan Ashby, CCTV in Tanzania.
Time for us to take another short break here on Matchpoint, but there's plenty more still to come, including the equestrian legend changing lives through horse riding in the Soweto townships.
Usain Bolt's in town. We've got a rugby version. Not sure what sort of a dance that is.
Kiranesh Dibaba of Ethiopia wins 10,000 metres gold.
Lewis, well done. You're an absolute legend.
Right now, turning to things equestrian, Enos Mofokate is South Africa's first black professional horse rider. And today he runs a horse riding school in Soweto, Johannesburg. CCTV's Julie Shire has that story.
Meet Enos Mofokate, South Africa's first black man to participate and win equestrian championships locally and abroad during the apartheid era. Enos' passion for horses overcame racial barriers, and today Mofokate teaches children the importance behind horse riding.
I'm trying to show something which I died for it as a child, where the apartheid never allowed me to ride any horse or to touch a horse because I'm black. I have to be calling a groom. A groom is like a boy. Then is how I could start sitting on a horse.
Horse riding has always been perceived as an elite sport, but South Africa's first black equestrian is changing this perception and making sure Soweto children learn everything there is to know about the sport.
This is a dream came true to me, because without this I would never be where I'm at today. I want to see a black child and a white child to be equally in a sports. I want to see a black child to compete in the Olympics from this riding school, to compete in a World Cup. What I want to see is South Africa in this sport, to give these children that chance which I want to have it.
The Soweto Equestrian Foundation is opening the elite world of equestrian sports to people who would never otherwise have the chance. And over 700 children from this township have been introduced to horse riding.
The further fact that it's free, it just tries to introduce us to the sport, especially, and showing that it doesn't have to have a lot of money to come here. You just have to have the passion for it, and if you can bring your kids over and have fun, that's important.
I love horse riding because it can take me to places that I haven't been to before.
It teaches us how to hold horses, how to be kind with them, how to treat them, and show them that they're not supposed to be afraid.
I think it's no doubt if they get this exactly treatment as a white child get it. If they get help, these children will go far away. I'm telling you, not a joke. We've been invited to a lot of places. We have one South African champion in a vaulting, twice in a row. Individually, I got champions of our black children. I'm so proud.
Mofokate knows that if he had more financial support, he could train South Africa's next equestrian generation. But he is happy with what he has achieved so far, and certain that he has kept many children out of trouble from Soweto's rough streets. Julie Shire, CCTV, Soweto, South Africa.
And staying in South Africa, the country is in desperate need of grassroots development of sport, and so far the onus is falling on former players to go back to their communities to start programs in order to develop sporting talent in their regions of origin. One such example is former international rugby player Brayton Pauls, who has started his own foundation in a remote area of the Western Cape in an attempt to give back and empower his community members. CS Duplessis now reports.
Not many people have heard of or been to the Koa Bokkerveld in the Western Cape of South Africa. But for former Springbok wing Brayton Pauls, this small valley is home and where it all started for the man who scored 130 points for his country. Paul's mum, Seti, still lives and works on the farm and always cooks delicious lamb for the visitors to De Keer Farm, a place Brayton comes to escape the hustle and bustle of Cape Town.
Well, this is my home. Especially these days when things get hectic, I just get into the car and drive to the farm. And, this place got special meaning to me. I mean, this brings back special memories for me, and it's just wonderful always to come back to your place of birth, and it's just a fantastic community, I mean, I love coming here, and it's always special to come back home and come talk to my people and spend some time with them.
Pauls is still hugely popular despite his playing career ending several years ago. The man, who is now a well-respected rugby analyst, believes that it is time to give back to the community by establishing a foundation that can help produce future rugby stars of South Africa.
This is a rugby community. I mean, the whole region, is it's full of rugby people. People love the rugby. I mean, the farms at rugby teams and still going strong today. It's just incredible, these guys love the game. So when I played my first game, obviously Mr. Tui and his family came to watch me in Port Elizabeth. My mum, my grandpa, everybody came. So it was a special moment and a special day for me. And after that first sort of couple of games, when I had the opportunity to come back to the farm, I brought my rugby jersey back here. And it was just special, to come back and just say thank you to the farm people in the community.
The 64 Test Cap veteran believes that more former players should be getting into the grassroots rugby and going back to the communities where they hail from in order to stimulate the development of the game in their communities. He also hopes that by more players taking on the sport of rugby, that he'll inspire them to one day follow in his footsteps and represent South Africa.
I think most guys do, and I think most guys try. Obviously, it's not possible for everybody to be privileged to go to give back and go back to the communities because of different reasons. But I know of a lot of guys who actually go back to the communities and try and make a difference. I mean, like I said, this week for me is about giving to my community, giving to my schools, the people around it, and that's very important. It's no use you become somebody in life or somebody that people look after, but you can't give back to where you come from. And to me, this is really important. And I really mean it from the bottom of my heart. I'm not just doing it because it's me being involved and coming off a farm. It's more than that. It's deeper than that. And I think that's important sometimes as well. That's why when I go to charity events and I see some people doing it for the wrong reasons, it really saddens me. So for me, I'm doing it because I want to do it and I feel it's my responsibility.
The 39-year-old maintains that if children of the region are given the opportunity to develop life skills through the sport of rugby and from the assistance of his foundation, that they will thrive and be able to go on one day to come back to their communities and empower the future generations of children. And who knows, maybe even unearth a star like Brayton Pulser.
Go, go!
CS Du Plessis, CCTV, Goa Bokkerveld.
Well, that's it for this edition of Matchpoint. Remember, you can send your feedback to us at matchpoint@cctv.com. You can also visit our Facebook page, CCTV Africa, and drop a comment there, or stay in touch with us on Twitter. The handle, as always, is CCTV News Africa. Thanks for watching. I'm Mahia Mutua.